Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas listening to me. Today we will be continuing from 56th chapter, and before that, let us offer our prayers at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and all our previous acharyas. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तद्कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो श्री वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। 56th chapter is the reflection on the chanting of the holy names. First question is, what is the benefit of Namabhasa? Answer is, in Namabhasa or reflective chanting of the holy name of the Lord, all one's sinful reactions are destroyed. When all one's sinful reactions and anarthas are destroyed, then the pure holy name dances on the tongue of the devotees. Then pure holy name awards such a person love of Krishna. Second question is, are the holy names uttered by the Mayavadis actually holy names? Answer is, holy names uttered by the Mayavadis are not holy names, but simply perverted reflection of the holy names. Therefore, in spite of chanting, such names of the Mayavadis are affected by the faults of Namapradha. Third question is, what is the difference between perverted and shallow Namabhasa? Answer is, words such as Namabhasa, Vaishnavabhasa, Shraddhabhasa, Bhavabhasa, Ratyabhasa, Premabhasa and Muktyabhasa are found in many places in the scriptures. A nice meaning of the word Namabhasa is given everywhere, and it is explained as follows. The abhas is of two kinds, actual reflection and perverted reflection. In the actual reflection, the effulgence of an object manifests in a contracted form. In the perverted reflection, the perversion of the actual form appears in a different shape. It is like the light reflected in the water. As long as the sun-like holy name remains covered by the clouds and storm in the form of living entities, ignorance and anarthas, an insignificant and contracted light of sun is visible. In such state, Namabhasa produces great auspicious results in this world. When these effulgent holy names become reflected from the lake of Mayavada, it is called perverted reflection Namabhasa. Such Namabhasa is one of the principal Namapradha. Hence, it cannot be called Namabhasa. Only shadow Namabhasa is actual Namabhasa. It is divided into four categories. Glorification of Namabhasa by condemning the abominable reflected Namabhasa is found in all scriptures. Shadow Namabhasa is caused by anarthas born of ignorance. Reflected Namabhasa is born from shrewd and polluted knowledge, and thus it has been ascertained as an impediment on the path of devotional service. Although a person who is as good as a Vaishnava may not be called a Vaishnava, but since he is free from the contamination of Mayavada, he can be respected as a Kanishta Adhikari devotee. By the influence of good association, such a person will soon achieve auspiciousness, and pure devotees will shower their blessings on him, considering him an ignorant friend. They will not ignore him like they do to the envious Mayavadis. They will enhance his propensity for deity worship with ordinary faith and award him the devotional service mixed with the knowledge of his relationship with the Lord that is suitable for the service of the Lord and his devotees. But if he has an inseparable belief in Mayavada, then the pure devotees will certainly ignore him. Fourth question is, can one chant the pure names of God as long as one has anartha? Answer is, the clouds of anartha consisting of material desires, weakness of heart, and committing offences cover the sun like holy names. When the rays of the sun like holy names are thus covered, then the subdued illumination is called Namabhasa. This Namabhasa obstructs the appearance of the self-illuminated holy names of Krishna. Fifth question is, why Namabhasa is more beneficial than all kinds of pious activities? Answer is, Namabhasa is counted as one of the principal kinds of piety of the living entities. Namabhasa awards superior fruits than all types of pious activities like following religious principles, observing vows, and practicing yoga. Sixth question is, what is the result of Namabhasa? Answer is, it is stated in the Shastras that in Kali Yuga, one can attain the spiritual abodes of Vaikuntha simply by influence of Namabhasa. Seventh question is, how many types of Namabhasa are there and what are the differences between them? Answer is, if the holy names of the Lord are chanted with Sanket, Parihasa, Stobha and Hela, then it is called Namabhasa. Therefore, Namabhasa is of four types. Stobha is less offensive than Hela, Parihasa is less offensive than Stobha, and Sanket is less offensive than Parihasa. Eighth question is, when does Namabhasa ceases? Answer is, until a person achieves the knowledge of his relationship with the Lord, he continues to be in the association of Namabhasa. Ninth question is, how many kinds of abhasa or reflections are there? Answer is, there are two kinds of reflections of the sun like holy names, shadow reflection and perverted reflection. Learned scholars always use the term like Bhaktya Bhasa, Bhava Bhasa, Nama Bhasa and Vaishnava Bhasa. All kinds of abhasas or reflections are of two categories, shadow and perverted. 10th question, who is a Vaishnava Praya or as good as a Vaishnava? Answer is, the meaning of the word Vaishnava Praya is that a person decorates himself like a Vaishnava with tulsi beads, tilak and so on, but actually he is not a real or pure Vaishnava. 11th question is, when does Namabhasa turns into Namapradha and what is the result of this? Answer is, the absence of chanting the pure name is called Namabhasa. This Namabhasa is addressed as Namabhasa in some stage and as Namapradha in other stage. When due to ignorance, in other words, when due to four defects, the pure holy name is chanted impurely, it is called Namabhasa. When due to the association of Mayavada, due to duplicity, due to desire of liberation, and due to material desires, the pure holy name is chanted impurely, it is called Namapradha. If 10 kinds of Namapradha that I have already explained to you is committed with simplicity and ignorance, then they are known as Namabhasa. The point is that as long as Namabhasa is untouched by the symptoms of Namapradha, there is an opportunity for the pure holy names to appear by destroying Namabhasa. However, if Namabhasa is affected by the symptoms of Namapradha, then the pure holy names of the Lord do not appear. In such a situation, there is no alternative for achieving auspiciousness other than eradicating the offences against the holy names by a prescribed process. 12th question is, what is the example of Sanket Namabhasa? Answer is, at the time of his death, Ajamila called his own son by the name Narayana. Since Narayana is the other name of Krishna, Ajamila attained the result of chanting the Lord's name with Sanket. 13th question is, what is the example of Stobha Namabhasa? Answer is, suppose an exalted Vaishnava is chanting the holy names of Hari, and at that time an atheist comes there and says, "Oh, your Lord Hari will do everything for you." This is the example of Stobha Namabhasa. Even that atheist can attain liberation by doing so. This is the natural strength of the holy names. 14th question is, how does one practice Namabhasa in Hela? Answer is, if one cunningly neglects the chanting of the holy names, then it is a Namapradha, but if one neglects the chanting of the holy name out of ignorance, then it is called Namabhasa. 15th question is, what does one achieve by Namabhasa? Answer is, material enjoyments, liberation, and all types of mystic perfections are achieved by Namabhasa. However, the ultimate goal of life in the form of love of Krishna cannot be achieved by Namabhasa. With that, we complete 56th chapter and move on to 57th chapter, which is called Offences Against the Chanting of the Holy Names. First question is, how grave is the importance of Namapradha? Answer is, as the holy names of the Lord are the highest object, so Namapradha is also more serious than all other kinds of sinful activities and offences. All kinds of sinful activities and offences are destroyed by taking shelter of the holy names of the Lord, but Namapradha does not go away so easily. Second question is, can Namapradha be compared with any sinful activity? Answer is, if the 5 kinds of sinful activities are multiplied by 10 million times, still it cannot be compared with Namapradha. Third question is, can one gain anything by making a show of chanting the holy names without giving up the offences? Answer is, without realizing the difference between Nama and Namabhasa, many people think that the holy names consist of only the alphabets, therefore assume that by chanting the holy names without faith, one can attain perfection. To substantiate their claim, they put forth the history of Ajamila and various scriptural injunctions. It has been described before that the holy name is fully transcendental, therefore it cannot be accepted by the blunt material senses. In such a case, unless one takes shelter of the holy names offenselessly, there is no possibility of achieving any fruit from chanting the holy names. The result of uttering the holy names by the faithless person is that later on they can chant the holy names faithfully. Therefore, those who misinterpret the glories of the holy names and advertise the holy names as a limb of fruitive activities by considering the holy name as mundane sound vibration are extremely materialistic and are offenders at the feet of the holy names. Fourth question, is it not a Namapradha to unlawfully initiate a woman in order to take advantage of her association on the strength of chanting the holy names? Answer is, once upon a time, a Vaishnava sannyasi became attached to a beautiful young woman. Being induced by his sinful propensity, he finally decided as follows: since I always chant the holy names, I can make that woman my disciple by giving her Harinam initiation, and then I can accept service from her. In the process, whatever sinful activities will be committed, that will certainly be destroyed by the holy names chanted by both of us. The woman will also get an opportunity to become a Vaishnavi. The association of a Vaishnava is very rare. Moreover, I will learn many things about the ecstatic love of the gopis from her association. Where can I get such an association? Thinking in this way, the Vaishnava sannyasi made that woman a Vaishnavi and enjoyed her service. This is an example of ultimate Namapradha. Fifth question is, what is the reason behind the holy names not bearing fruit immediately? Answer is, if the all-powerful rain of the holy names fall on the hard stones like the body, house, wealth, followers and greed, then it does not bear fruit immediately. These obstacles are divided into two classes, namely small obstacles and big obstacles. When there are small obstacles in the course of chanting the holy names, such chanting of holy names become namabhasa. They award result very late. If there are big obstacles while chanting the holy names, then such chanting becomes namaprada. Without incessant chanting of the holy names, these offences do not go away. Sixth question is, what is the symptom of a person who is devoid of unalloyed devotional service? Answer is, the following are the symptoms of a person devoid of pure devotional service: engaging in condemned activities such as disregarding the pure Vaishnavas, associating with non-devotees, in other words, illicit association with women and materialists, disregarding the spiritual master, blaspheming the devotional literature, considering the Lord and His holy names to be different, considering the holy names to be equal to pious activities, lack of faith in chanting of the holy names due to possessing the mentality of I and mine, and committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy names. Seventh question is, what are the 10 kinds of namapradhas? Answer is, the 10 kinds of namapradhas are as follows. First, blaspheming the devotees who have taken shelter of the holy names. It is also an offense to neglect them, thinking that they know only the science of holy names and do not know anything about Janana Yoga, etc. Second, considering the demigods to be independent. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Lord of Lords. All the demigods and demigoddesses are His servants and maidservants. Simply by worshipping Krishna, all the demigods are automatically worshipped. Without having such a faith, if one considers Krishna as one god, Shiva as another god, and thus imagine many independent gods, then it is an offense. Third point, disobeying the spiritual master. If one thinks that the spiritual master is expert only in the science of holy names but does not know anything about other types of sadhana, then it is an offense. Actually, one who has attained the science of holy names, which is the ultimate goal of all pious activities, there is nothing left for him to be attained or known. Fourth, blaspheming the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures have glorified the holy names in various ways. It is an offense to maintain a hostile attitude and faithlessness in the statements of the Vedas glorifying holy names. Fifth, giving some interpretation on the holy names. It is an offense to think that the holy names like Rama, Krishna and Hari are all imaginary, and as such the Lord has no names, form, quality or activity. Sixth, committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy names. It is a grave offense to think that by chanting all my sinful reactions will be destroyed, or by chanting gradually my heart will be purified and I will no longer have any taste for committing sinful activities. Therefore, for time being, let me commit some sinful activities for my own sake. Such a mentality of committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy names is an offense. Seventh, considering the holy names as equal to pious activities, it is an offense to not take shelter of the holy names by thinking that the chanting of the holy name is a pious activity like following religious principles, observing vows, and undergoing austerities. Therefore, thinking that by taking shelter of any of the pious activities one can become purified. 8th, remaining attentive while chanting the holy names. It is an offense to not pay attention while chanting the holy names. In other words, to become indifferent and lazy towards chanting the holy name. To become indifferent means to think of various material enjoyments during the time of chanting, to not have a taste for chanting, and to repeatedly check out the ending point of the chanting beat to make sure when will the round be finished. It is also an offense to chant the holy names under the influence of cheating propensity as well as for name and fame. 9th, instructing a faithless person about the glories of the holy names. First, one should preach the glories of the holy names to a foolish, faithless person. When he develops sufficient faith in the holy names, then he should be awarded holy names, mantra initiation. It is a grievous offense to initiate an unqualified person for sake of money. 10th, maintaining the mentality of I and mine. It is an offense to engage in the chanting of the holy names while maintaining the excessive attachment for material enjoyments, even after understanding the glories of the holy names. 11th, these are the 10 points. If one gives up these 10 kinds of namaprada and engages in hearing and chanting the holy names of Krishna, then he certainly achieves love of God, which is the goal of chanting the holy names. 8th question is, what is the definition of first the namaprada? Answer is, the first namaprada is to blaspheme those saintly persons who have taken complete shelter of the holy names and have given up all pious activities, cultivation of knowledge, and practice of yoga. The holy names of Hari cannot be tolerate the blasphemy of his devotees who are engaged in spreading the actual glories of the holy names. By accepting the devotees who are attached to chanting the holy names as the topmost, and by chanting the holy names in their association while giving up blaspheming, one can quickly attain the mercy of the holy names. 9th question, how many types of the second namaprada are there? Answer is, there are 2 types of the second namaprada. The first type is to consider the names, qualities, etc. of Sadashiva, the foremost demigod, and Lord Vishnu to be different is an offense. The purport is that if one imagines Sadashiva as an independent god and Lord Vishnu as an independent god, then one falls in the category of accepting many gods. As a result, one's unalloyed devotional service to Krishna becomes obstructed. Krishna is the Lord of Lords, and the lordships of all the demigods headed by Shiva is dependent on Krishna. In other words, those demigods have no separate independence or power. By chanting the holy names with such a conviction, one does not commit any offense. The second type is to consider the names, forms, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord to be different from the eternally perfected body of the Lord. Therefore, one should accept the forms of Krishna, the names of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, and the pastimes of Krishna to be spiritual and non-different from each other. With such a mentality, one should chant the holy names of Krishna, otherwise one commits namaprada. It is prescribed that one should engage in chanting the holy names of Krishna after achieving this knowledge. 10th question is, what is the symptom of disobeying the spiritual master? Which is the third offense? Answer is, Those who consider that the spiritual master who awards the holy names is conversant with the scriptures, dealing only with the holy names, but is inferior to the spiritual master who is well acquainted with Vedanta and philosophical literature, are certainly offenders at the feet of the holy names. Actually, there is no superior spiritual master to the one who knows science of the holy names. To consider such a spiritual master as insignificant is an offense. 11th question is, how should one treat his spiritual master? Answer is, one should not think his spiritual master to be an ordinary human being. Rather, one should respect him as an associate of Krishna, filled with the energy of Krishna. To consider the spiritual master as Krishna is also a philosophy of the impersonalist. It is not the philosophy of the pure Vaishnavas. 12th question is, what is the fourth Namapradha? Answer is, the glories of the holy names are found in all the Vedas and Upanishads. Therefore, it is an offense to blaspheme such Vedic literatures. Due to misfortune, many persons respect other instructions of the Vedic literature and neglect the instructions of the Vedas which glorify the holy names. This is their offense at the feet of the holy names. Due to this offense, they do not develop a taste for chanting the holy names of the Lord. 13th question is, what is giving some interpretation on the holy names of the Lord? Answer: those who say that the statements of the Vedas, the revealed scriptures and the Puranas, which are indicative of the glories of the holy name, are exaggerated. They go to hell forever. 14th question is, what does it mean by giving some interpretation on the holy name? Answer is, this means that whatever the Shastras have glorified regarding the chanting of the holy name are not factual, rather they have done so in order to draw everyone's attention towards the holy name. To think like this an offense, and as a result those who think like this do not develop any taste for chanting. You should engage in chanting the holy names of Hari by keeping full faith in the words of the Shastras. You should not associate with those who give interpretation of the holy names of the Lord. What to speak of this, if you suddenly meet such person, you should take bath immediately with your clothes on. This is the teachings of Sri Gauranga. 15th question is, what is the result if one thinks that the glories of the holy names of Hari is imaginary? Answer is, it is an offense to consider the Lord's holy names as imagination. The impersonalists and the materialists think that the supreme absolute truth is impersonal and devoid of names, forms, etc. Those who conclude that his holy names such as Rama and Krishna have been imagined by the sages for the sake of formality are offenders at the feet of the holy names. 16th question is, what is the definition of committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names? Answer is, those who engage in committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names are offenders at the feet of holy names. The sinful activities which are committed on the strength of the holy names cannot be counteracted by the process of yama, niyama and so on, because since it is counted as one of the namapradhas, it will only be counteracted by the prescribed process for counteracting the offences against the holy names. 17th question, what does it mean by counteracting the sinful reactions with chanting of the holy names? Answer is, those who conclude that let us commit sinful activities and also chant the holy names of Hari, and thus after debit and credit there will be no balance of sinful reactions left, and thus committed fresh sinful activities after taking shelter of the holy names are cheaters and offenders at the feet of the holy names. 18th question is, what makes one commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names? Answer is, since there are some offenses already existing in a person, his chanting of the holy names become namabhasa and not pure chanting. Due to namabhasa, previous sinful reactions are eradicated and the taste for fresh sinful activities does not develop. Whatever sinful reactions that is left over from previously committed sinful activities also gradually becomes destroyed by the strength of namabhasa. If a person seldom commits any sinful activities, they also becomes nullified by namabhasa. But if a person who has taken shelter of the holy names thinks that since all sinful reactions are destroyed by chanting the holy names of the Lord, then if I commit any sinful activities, that will also get destroyed by the process of chanting, then his chanting of the holy name become an offense because he is committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy names. 19th question is, what is the offense of considering the chanting of holy names to be equal to pious activities? Answer is, because Harinama is the sadhana, process of achieving the goal of life, and sadhya, perfection of goal of life, Harinam cannot be compared with other pious activities. Those who consider the holy names as non-different from pious activities are offenders at the feet of the holy names. 20th question is, what is the main cause of not having attachment for chanting the holy names? Answer is, if even one gives up all offenses against the holy names, if he is inattentive while chanting, he can never develop attachment for chanting. 21st question is, how many kinds of inattention to chanting the holy names of the Lord are there? Answer is, O Lord, all anarthas are produced from not paying attention to the chanting of the holy names. The exalted devotees have understood this inattention as indifference, laziness, and restlessness. 22nd question is, what is the symptom of a restless chanter? Answer is, those who are afflicted with restlessness try to finish up their prescribed rounds of chanting as soon as possible. One should remain extremely careful not to commit such an offense while chanting. 23rd question is, why paying no attention to chanting the holy names is the source of all offenses? Answer is, O reservoir of all transcendental qualities, if one chants the holy names of the Lord but his attention is somewhere else, how can he achieve any benefit? If even such a person chants 100,000 holy names of the Lord, still a drop of mellows of ecstatic love will not be attained. O Lord, this is the definition of paying no attention while chanting the holy names. This offense is deeply rooted in the hearts of the materialist. 24th question is, by which process can laziness be destroyed? Answer is, the characteristic of a saintly person is that he does not waste any time. By seeing such a character, one will certainly hanker after it. One will think, alas, when will I become fortunate enough to chant, sing, and remember the holy names of the Lord, like this saintly person? Such an enthusiasm in the mind of a lazy person will destroy his laziness by the remembrance of Krishna. 25th question is, why does one become indifferent to chanting of the holy names? Answer is, if desire for accumulating wealth, enjoying the association of women, the sensing of victory and defeat, aspiring the name and fame, and cheating others fill one's heart, that one will naturally become indifferent to chanting the holy names. 26th question is, what is the fault of instructing the faithless persons about the glories of the holy names? Answer is, to instruct about the holy names of Hari to those who are faithless, who are averse to the service of the Supreme Lord, and who are devoid of a taste of hearing the holy names of Hari, is an offense against the holy names. 27th question, what kind of offense is maintaining the mentality of I and mine? Answer, those who are intoxicated by the mentality that I am such and such in this material world, and this wealth and followers are mine, and who seldom hears the glories of the holy names of the mouths from the mouths of the saintly persons on account of flickering faith or knowledge, and so do not display any love for the holy names, are offenders at the feet of the holy names. 28th question is, what is the cause behind an initiated devotee falling from the path of devotional service? Answer is, even after being initiated, a majority of the materialistic persons fall down from the path of devotional service due to their mentality of I and mine. 29th question is, what is the method for removing the mentality of I and mine? One should search for devotees who have given up material enjoyment and possessiveness, and who worship the lotus feet of Krishna by engaging in chanting of his holy names and associate with them. By serving such devotees, one will gradually be able to give up waves of material enjoyments and develop faith in the chanting of the holy names. In this way, one's mentality of I and mine will be destroyed, and one will cross the ocean of material existence. 30th question is, what is the goal of the offenders at the feet of the holy names? Answer is, whatever fruits an offender of the holy names desire while chanting, the holy names certainly awards them with it. But the holy name never awards him the fruit of love of God. One also enjoys the fruits of Nama Prada simultaneously. 31st question is, what is the process of counteracting Nama Prada? Answer is, if one commits offenses against deity worship, the holy names can counteract them. The Nama Pradhas are counteracted only by chanting the holy names of Hari. Constant chanting of the holy names awards all perfections. With that, we complete 57th chapter and move on to 58th chapter, which is called Compassion towards Living Entities. First question is, what is the highest kind of welfare activities? Answer is, exhibiting compassion towards living entities is of three kinds. Display of compassion in regard to the gross body of the living entities is counted among pious activities. Distributing free food to the hungry people, distributing free medicine to the diseased people, distributing free water to the thirsty people, and distributing clothes to persons who are afflicted with cold are all born from the compassion in regard to the body. Giving free education is born from the compassion in regard to the mind of the living entities. But the highest kind of compassion is in regard to the soul of living entities. From such compassionate propensity, the eagerness for delivering the fallen souls from the miseries of material existence by awarding them the devotional service to Krishna is produced. Second question is, the phrase Jivadaya or showing compassion apply to which living entities? Answer is, it is to be understood that Jivadaya refers to only the conditioned souls. Moreover, among the conditioned souls, those who have achieved inclination towards Krishna should be treated as friends and not as candidates for compassion. Therefore, only those who are foolish or ignorant among the conditioned souls are to be showed mercy. Third question is, what is the difference between welfare activities of the karmis, jananis and bhaktas? Answer is, the followers of Karmakand do not endeavor to give eternal benefits to living entities. They consider that exhibition of compassion in regard to one's body and mind is auspicious. The followers of Janana Kanda considers the exhibition of compassion in regard to the mind as more beneficial. But the pure devotees of the Lord give eternal benefit to the living entities by preaching devotional service to them. With that, we conclude today's session. My sincere obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and the divine couple Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.